problem of not finding work, she was not finding love either. Even though she had that book, The Rules, it wasn't helping her. Not yet, anyway. But as she was meandering through the streets looking for work, she was also meandering through a series of questionable relationships. There was a 6-month relationship with a guy named Sean, who was an actor and director. She'd met him at Northwestern, but that didn't end up working out because he wouldn't commit. Not surprisingly. Would you commit? And then there was this 5-month relationship with this guy named Brett Ryland, who's an actor. And she has the gall to say he lacked personality. So she broke up with him. Then she dated the other actors, and then there was this Latin tycoon that she was involved with. She even went on one date. She spent one night out with this guy named Simon Rex, who's a porn star. Now, it was an inconsequential evening. Apparently nothing really happened, but still, really? We were scraping the bottom of the barrel that night. Anyway, every evening she'd set off saying to herself, you never know. Tonight I might meet the man who will change my life. But why though? But why? Look, I'm not opposed to marriage. I'm happily married. But I guess I just kind of think that, what if you never find the right guy? Like, if your whole life is based on when I find that guy, I mean, what a hellacious situation. What a purgatory to find yourself in. Just one day. You just find something for yourself to do. And then in the process, if Mr. Right comes along, fantastic. But other than that, finally the waiting was over. She met Trevor. And in 2004, she met Trevor Engleson in a West Hollywood bar. Now, this joker was the typical ambitious 27-year-old in Hollywood who is just basically what he sounded like was just a big talker. He could talk a big game. Starting out as a film producer, and his big thing was comedy, and he was targeting all these comedy channels with his clients' scripts. And in his free time, he listened to hip hop. He says he read voraciously, traveled endlessly. He told one podcast, I'm Jewish. Now I believe that you only have one shot in this life. I'm a gigantic believer that all this shit could come suddenly to an end any minute now. So, you should have some fun. What profound words. Really? Is it going to come to an end all of a sudden? Is that a possibility? Tell me no, Trevor. I mean, duh. Anyway, okay. So, it's interesting the different takes that various people had about Trevor. He sounds, I'm just going to be frank, he sounds like an asshole. I mean, he doesn't sound like somebody that I'd be like stoked to have found myself in a relationship with. His whole outlook on life was thus: fuck him, it'll be me. And he did not want to be the average Joe. He wanted to get the lottery ticket and be special. I mean, truly, what an absolute egomaniac. He just was always talking a big game. And this is how I know it. Because he meets Meghan in a bar. And I can't believe that she bought this. This is just so lame. It makes me angry because it's so dumb. So he tells her, they're sitting at this noisy bar. And he tells Meghan that he's all about working hard, playing hard. In fact, I work so hard that I'm even reading screenplays every morning through the steam shower glass door. You work so hard that you're putting the scripts up outside the bathroom window, and you're over there washing your hair and reading. No, you're not. No, you're not. That's so stupid. You can't read through the steamy window of a hot shower. You can't do it. And like, okay, multitasking isn't really tasking at all. It's distraction. Okay, so I mean, if a guy had told me that, I would have laughed right in his face and gotten up out of my seat and found somebody else to talk to. I'm reading scripts through the steamy window of my shower. No, you're not. That's so stupid. Like, all I would have thought was, well, that's dumb. What a waste of time. If you think that works, and worse still, if you think that line's going to work on me, you're a couple crayons short of a full box. Anyway, here's a couple of his maxims to get through life. You guys, this guy, what a philosopher he turned out to be. Hope's the greatest currency we have in this business. You don't say. And then he says, don't give 5 minutes if you're not going to give it 5 years. Meghan loved these two sayings, and she frequently used them herself in speeches she would give to young audiences as her philosophy on life. Really? That is so shallow, I cannot even. And also, don't give 5 minutes if you're not going to give it 5 years. That's just a stupid thing to say. It's such amazing BS, I cannot even. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. What if I've got to look into a project to decide if I want to spend more than 5 minutes on it? That's just a stupid thing to say. It just sounds like you're saying something, but you're not saying anything, dumb Trevor. Well, apparently not everybody thought he was dumb. To me, he sounds like somebody who thinks he's way smarter than he is. But Tom Bauer quotes a friend of his back from New York, where he was from. And the thing that probably attracted Meghan to Trevor was the fact that he did come from a really stable family, very stable Jewish family. His father was an orthodontist. His mother was a speech therapist. He'd been educated well. And so he had a big group of friends. And here we have a quote from one friend who truly sounds like someone who's fighting the effects of a sleeping pill when Tom Bauer interviewed him, because his description of Trevor is so nondescript. It's almost like, did you even know who Trevor was, or were you just a clingers on from the edge? But let me quote this friend. Trevor was one of the most desirable people you'd want to be in a friendship with, recalled Larry Preto, who was also raised in the same neighborhood. He was honest and loyal and respectful, a lot of humility. And Preto goes on to discuss Engleson's attitude towards girls. He apparently was decent with the ladies. He didn't just want them as notches on his bedpost. He was old school. If they wanted to shop or go out somewhere, he'd take them into the city. He just wanted to make them feel good about themselves. He charmed everybody. You guys, this is a friend who knows him? What is this person even talking about? Okay, I tend to believe the less complimentary individuals that were interviewed. They thought he was brash and conceited, and definitely not the genius he believed himself to be. Yeah, I would say that's probably a more accurate description, because anybody whose mantras in life are hope is the greatest currency we have, and don't give 5 minutes if you're not going to give 5 years, and fuck him, it'll be me. I don't believe that this philosopher really was the honest, loyal, respectful, and humble man that young Larry Preto seems to have recalled. But anyway, Meghan was all about sticking with Trevor, and probably because she thought that he would be able to help her emotionally and professionally in life. And emotionally, by I just mean, it's nice to have somebody in your life that cares about you when times are hard, because it is a tough business. It's constant rejection. So if you can feel like at least one person is choosing you, you've at least got that. But more than even the emotional and professional support, which I think she was hoping he'd help her line up some work, which he goes on to not do, she did want an easy living. She wanted an easy lifestyle. She wanted some financial freedom. And what I don't understand is Thomas was giving her more than her fair share of financial freedom. But I guess she wanted even more assurance that the party never had to end. Her friend, Nanaki Pretty, says that Trevor was really big for her. Like, this was a big deal relationship. But listen to how Nanaki describes this relationship. And if you've got your puke bucket, then you need to grab it, because I'm about to be sick all over the floor just reading this. So Trevor was real big for her. It was an opportunity for her to establish relationships with agents, according to Pretty. And Meghan loved it. She loved being at his side. She loved going to these dinners. She loved him. He was very doting. Now, Meghan, for her part, was also very besotted, and proceeded to act in a way that is so horrifyingly embarrassing. I don't even know how I'm going to get these words out of my mouth. But Meghan couldn't keep her hands off of Trevor. Now, where have we seen this before? She was very, very clingy. And when she spoke to him in public, between all the hugging and the kissing and the pawing, she would speak to him in a babyish voice. And she called him Trevity Trev Trev. Pretty witnessed her sense of triumph over having secured this, excellent mate. And in return for all this petting and cooing and baby talk, Trevor gave Meghan bear hugs. That's what we have in the book. That's how he repaid her. None of this sounds enviable to me. I don't want any of this. Can you even imagine? This whole thing. It's almost like he was like trying to hug her hard enough to calm her down. I mean, it's just like she's over there petting and cooing and kissing his neck and, babyish voice, and then he's over there giving her these bear hugs like, settle down! Unable to believe his good fortune, though. Apparently, he really was into her. He thought she was the hottest woman in Hollywood. And Meghan really did know how to be a domestic goddess and really put on a show for him, for his friends, made him feel that he really did have a catch. Now, in my experience, if a woman can cook a few things, no man is too sorry to be with her. And she managed to really show him what a domestic goddess she was. They moved in together, and she loved to throw these dinner parties. According to her friend Nanaki, Meghan really was very good at curating a beautiful life. She had a really specific style. She loved her hotel-style bedding, really crisp white duvets with this contrasting black piping. She loved everything to be white. She was a real perfectionist. And then these dinner parties that she would throw, she's really good at putting food and wine together. And so it looked like Trevor had really found somebody who could support the lifestyle that he wanted, and he could bring people around to the house and be really proud of what he had going on domestically. But as Tom Bauer would remind us, Pretty is describing an idealized snapshot of Meghan's life. For the majority of the time, she was running around like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to find work and not finding anything at all. But to the shock and horror of everyone, they weren't going to film this show in New York the way they had all thought they were going to. No, they've got to save money. This is a low-budget cable show after all. And that meant that everyone was going to have to shuttle on over to Toronto, where they were going to set up shop and film there. Everybody else decided that they would be commuting from Los Angeles. They're not making Toronto their home. But not Meghan. She sees this as her ticket out of her relationship with Trevor. Leaving Los Angeles and Trevor, Meghan told the producers, was not a downside to her. She planned on making her home in Toronto. Commute, hardly. Canada, here she comes. She did not explain why she wanted to leave Los Angeles, but one friend speculated that she had agreed that Trevor was just super cheesy. And she felt that, quote, he's like a guy who wears those Adidas slippers with a suit to a fancy event. And another friend suggested that while Meghan could commit herself to Trevor, she did not like being possessed by him. She wanted to be in total control. So, if necessary, Suits was her get-out-of card from that relationship.